All right, we were just talking about how it's okay to do a remix. And I remember watching that video when it came out, like, yeah, Tarantino has an encyclopedic knowledge of film and probably a super awesome memory. So, yeah, if he wants to know how to do this type of scene, he's going to reference the best. He's going to remember or he can analyze what made it work.
Yeah, and that's what I love about storytelling in general. You know, uh, what's the old adage? There are no new stories, just new ways to tell them.
Yeah.
And that's true. There's are like, uh, yeah, I can I can sum up every movie you've ever seen uh this way. Uh, there's a good guy and there's a bad guy. The bad guy does a bad thing. Good guy tries uh to right that wrong. The end. Like, however you want to tell that story, you want to put uh you know space dogs in there with laser crossbows. You know,
Yes.
Chewbacca. If you want to do that, you can do that. It's everything is just an amalgam of everything that we have kind of done as a species.
Right.
You know,
And
uh,
getting back to the very, very beginning,
yeah,
um, what is storytelling? Storytelling is to teach the future generations something meaningful
yeah.
that we've learned. That's the point.
Storytelling is trying to make sense of the human condition and all of its complexities. Um, is trying to make sense of love, hate, desire. And it's trying to put form to all of these intangible, just vaporous uh, emotions that we all have. Storytelling is trying to communicate and understand what we are all about. It's trying to figure out what the purpose of everything is and why this is the way it is. You know, a good story, no matter how outlandish the premises and the setup, is all like it at its core. It should be about nailing or trying to understand or trying to dissect something that is inherently human.
Right.
That is, so that's storytelling.
Now, let me ask you, I don't know if you've ever pitched a film to anyone and talked about character, right?
Mm.
It's a lot different. You get a lot different response than if you pitch the premise.
Oh yeah, yeah. I've never tried to pitch a character. I've pitched, I've done a pitch for a movie, and I've uh, told about the character and his motivations and stuff like that. But like pitching a cat, like pitching a character is broad strokes, because honestly, the character comes from the actor,
Hmm.
in my opinion. You know, you may like perfect example, like Walter White from Breaking Bad. Uh, School teacher dying of cancer, decides to sell meth with his dropout student. Um, you know, tries to uh, secure a better life for his family. That's Walter White. Bryan Cranston, the actor, infused it with so much pathos, so much angst, so much history.
Hmm.
Like not even history that we see. Like not even a flashback. Just like he built this life for this character, for this thing. So, like, I try not to pitch. I try to do broad strokes with characters, but like it really is, if you get a great actor, they will fill in the void. They will create this being. They will once again bring something from nothing.
Right. No, that's very true because I guess what I was getting at is like people respond so much to a premise, like, oh, I could see that happening. That'd be exciting. You know, a volcano is going to explode, and you know the next question might be who's in it, and then you say The Rock, and then they're like, yeah.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
There's your character right there. It's The Rock. You know, he's
Yeah.
got the
You don't
same
need.
shirt on in every movie.
Yeah. I mean, I think in that, what was it? Uh, skyscraper movie. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's The Rock, but he's got a wooden leg. I think
I didn't even get that
like,
far into the movie, but yeah, that's
yeah. I mean, yeah. So those are personalities. They're not characters. You know. But like, yeah. I mean, if you're talking about the business of it all, if you can attach someone to it, you know, that's got a name and that has a brand, then you're more likely to get someone to listen to you.
mm-hmm.
You know, uh, yeah, like you were saying, oh, it's like Star Wars, but it's got Marky Mark in it. Like, oh
Sign me
yeah,
up.
Mark Wahlberg. I'm sorry, he'll always be Marky Mark. He'll always be Marky Mark to me. But
Mark
yeah, but Mark
Wahlberger.
Wahlberg.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man. All right. So something I was trying to get at in the last video,
Okay.
photography,
Yes.
videography, sort of similar. You know, composition and everything. Have you taken something from one and put it into the other?
Yeah, I go into every film set like I'm doing a portrait,
Ooh.
and I go into every portrait session like I'm making a movie,
Interesting.
because they're essentially, because when I first went to film school, name check NYU. Uh, when first went to film school, they made you take a photography class before you even started like picking up a film camera, because filmmaking is nothing but telling stories with pictures. You know, so if you understand the basics of photography and why photography works, not just the technical aspects of it, but like the emotional response that an image will elicit. If you can understand that, then you're better suited to tell a story with multiple pictures. You know, because you know a movie is nothing but a whole bunch of stills
Mm-hmm.
put together with some dialogue and some music. We talk about 24. You talk about 24p, right? 24 frames per second. You're taking 24 pictures in a second.
It's quite a
If you
few.
think of it like right, if you think of it like that, if you think of like when you're making a movie, you are in essence just taking a whole bunch of pictures. That's the kind of way I think about it.
Hmm.
Like if every photo I take should tell a story. Like any still should, you should understand what's going on, or it should elicit some sort of emotional response. So they're interchangeable. You have to know photography really, in order to effectively make films. The same principles of across the board. Like lighting. ISO, aperture. All of that stuff you take from photography and you put it in the film.
Yep. I know when I first started, you know, it was I had a camera, and I'd watch a bunch of movies. So that was my film
Right.
school. Since I was a little kid, I watched Jaws over and over, watched Jurassic Park over and over and over in the theater and at home on VHS.
Yeah.
And when I went to shoot, like I had an innate knowledge, like okay, now this is coming next, now this is coming next. Then when I started to get into photography, I learned a lot more about composition because it was in the days of Photoshop. So it was a digital picture, and I could kind of crop in to
Right.
get like good framing. And then I found that the next time I went on a photo shoot, I didn't need to do that. So I learned composition like pretty quickly from still photos and the lighting and everything. I mean, photography, photo, light, graphy, drawing with light.
Yeah.
That comes into lighting, and it was kind of weird because then years later, when I went to do my first action scene, it was almost like I didn't know what the hell I was doing. Like I had all this theory and I had all this stuff for composition, and then I'm like, well, how do I just run with the camera and follow the guy?
Right. 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 Yeah. No. And yeah, it's oh, definitely a learning experience. Like, I'm still like, I'll get on a set and I don't know what's going on. I know what's going on, but like in my head, it doesn't work like
Right.
it is practically. But like, I think what a lot of content creators now, a lot of filmmakers now, forget is just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do something. And also, if you're going to do something, you need to know why you're doing it.
Hmm.
It can't just look cool. Perfect example. Uh, uh, Frame. It was like time remapping. You know.
Ooh, right.
Like it'll go from fast to slow. That effect is cool looking, but if you don't know why you're doing it in that scene or in that edit, you're just doing it to do it just because it looks cool. It doesn't have the same impact as if, you do it because it puts a punctuation mark on the story you're trying to tell.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
You know, it was funny. Like when his movies first started to come out, I was a huge fan of Zack Snyder's visual style. Him and
right.
I want to say cinematographer Larry Fong. That could be totally fucking wrong. I'm
I don't
sorry.
know.
Um, but they did the timer mapping on 300, and when they used it was like, oh, it was
Right.
awesome. And then they used it in Watchmen, and I think they used it one time too many. There was an explosion, and someone was about to jump, and then like they slowed it down, and then they brought it back, and then she like it didn't. They used
Yeah.
too
Yeah.
much.
Yeah. Because like they did it because it was cool instead of because of they should have used it. And uh, Zack Snyder is the world's best art director. Uh, he is not the best filmmaker, storyteller, I should say.
Yes, I was gonna say
Uh,
storyteller. Yeah.
yeah, he's not the best storyteller, but like his visual like styling, like the way he creates these worlds, like he makes perfect example. Every Zack Snyder film, no matter how you feel about it, you can take a frame from any Zack Snyder movie, print it out, and that's a poster.
Yeah, gorgeous. Absolutely
That's a
gorgeous.
picture. That's that whole entire photography background. That's that production design
Yeah.
background.
Yeah, so I love that about him, and I'd love to see him making um, more movies with a more story based bent
I
and
would love.
learning and evolving. Because an evolved Zack Snyder would be an unbeatable Pokemon.
Fair enough. I think you should tweet that to him. Like Zack Snyder, that's not even his final form.
Would you like water cannons on your back?
That's hilarious.
That's good
But
shit.
yeah,
Thanks again, Jeff. This has been great. Where can we see? You have a production company. Where can we see your work?
It's A Different Path Films is the moniker, is the film company I run with my best friend and producing partner Chris Kazar. Um, you can find me on Instagram. That's where I do most of my networking now. At MindfireXL. Uh, you can just do a search for Jeff Stewart on Facebook. Uh, yeah, I'm everywhere. There's going to be links here at the
I'll
bottom
put
and stuff
links
like
in the
that.
description. You guys
Yeah,
don't
there's
need
links.
to worry about that. Write it
Yeah,
down. Just a click
but
away.
but I'll respond to like any messages anyone sends me. Like I did that before COVID, you know. But like I love having these conversations with people, and I love kind of shepherding new filmmakers forward. You know, so you know if you send me a message on Instagram or whatever like that, I'll get back to you. We'll start talking and stuff like that. So I'm very approachable because, like I said, I think that filmmaking is magic, and if I can help someone else create magic, that's what is it? I think that's a mitzvah. Is that what they? I think that's what the term is. It's me doing my part to spread good.
Okay, there you go. Make some magic. Tell them Indie Depth sent you.
Yep, there we go.
Thanks a lot, Jeff, and thank you
Thank
for
you.
going Indie Depth.
Thank you, sir, for having me. Yeah, keep making movies.
Always.